Welcome to the Angler's Wisdom Podcast,
supercharged by Amped Outdoors Lithium.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period.
catch more fish,
Learn tips, tricks,
techniques, and secrets, and decades of angler's wisdom. Welcome to the show.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh! Oh, that's a nice one. Yeah!
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Angler's Wisdom Podcast, where we go beyond the catch and dive into the lives. Oh my goodness. I literally just did this perfectly. Let's start over. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Angler's Wisdom Podcast, where we go beyond the catch and dive into the lives, the lessons, and the legacies of those shaping the future of fishing. Today's guest is one of the sharpest minds behind the scenes at YakAttack, and on the water, he's a river reading machine. He's the only level 2 ACA Kayak Fishing Instructor in the state of Virginia, and he's the guy that I had the absolute honor of chasing fish with in some of the most intense waters on the planet, the Lower Niagara River. So whether you're new to kayak fishing or have been chasing the current your whole life, get ready. This one's going to run deep. Let's welcome to the show, Wade Clements. What's going on, brother?
Not much, buddy. How you doing, man?
Doing all right. I wish it would stop raining here, but it's supposed to clear up for the weekend, so should be some good fishing. I'll be out there Sunday, probably Saturday, I think Monday, and then got a handful of trips next week, so be a lot of fun. And
awesome.
You're going fishing.
Bad weather, man. It's been beautiful here the past couple of days, and I took off Friday to get out there and try to beat the Memorial Day rush, all the boaters out there, to get out there and do a little fishing myself. Too much time on the road here lately. I need to get out and do my thing.
I hear you. And speaking of that, why don't we kick this off and just go way back? I believe it was 12 years ago. How did the kayak first find its way into your life?
Well, so I have to give all the credit to my wife. I've tube rivers, just floated and had a good time. And I've always had a connection, to the current, but started, dating my wife. It's actually been over 13 years ago now. And she took me to her parents' place, a little town in Southwest Virginia called Freeze. We got out there the first year, rented a canoe, went down, had a good time. I came back the following year with a borrowed kayak. And I tell a lot of people I found kayak fishing very organically. I wasn't following it. I didn't even know it was really a thing. Just got out there and I was like, dude, I could sit out here all day long and I need to do something to pass the time. I'm too ADD to sit still. So I started bringing fishing rods and it just really took off from there. Year after year, I was trying to spend more and more time getting out there and doing it. And, the rest is history.
That's pretty awesome. I found kayak fishing organically too. I was trying to get my daughter back into or more into fishing, and she had seen a kayak, and she's like, Dad, can we get fishing kayaks? And that sent me on Facebook. I jumped in some kayaking group that I found, and I ended up getting the Pungo, and I'll tell you what, that thing sucked me in.
Oh, yeah.
So what I want to ask you is
also.
Well, what was the moment where you knew this wasn't just a hobby anymore and this was your path?
it felt so natural. I mean, just to be out there and, just navigating the current and exploring the river. I mean, for me, that's the biggest part of it. Catching fish is great, but being out there and just over the years exploring more and more of that river. I do the Google Maps thing and, be like, all right, I got this. I see these obstacles ahead. It looks like a rock garden up there. And the first time I did that, I found myself in some class, 2+ rapids. It was pretty gnarly. It scared the crap out of me, honestly. And I couldn't wait to go back and do it again. Just the more I do it, it's what I was made for. I mean, just to be out there. Most people that know me know I'm not a big fan of flat water, getting out there on the lakes and motors and all that. I like to be in the river, in the current, through the rapids, chasing those smallmouth.
Right. Yeah. It's not just the fish, it's the adrenaline and the personal challenge. And at the end of the day, there's nobody there to save you in that moment. And that's, for me, that's what I really love is like, it forces you to be on top of your game 100%.
Yeah. I've run through sections of river. Well, the section that you ran with me when you came down for that river cleanup in the fall. Most of the time when I go down through that section of Double Shoals, where the other places, they've got tubers out there and there could be dozens of people. I run down through those rapids and I'm alone in the world. Just me and nature and some wildlife and, enjoying every piece of it.
Absolutely. And anybody listening, if you want to check out that stretch of river, it's amazing. And you can go right down to
blowing out my spots. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to plug our friend Timmy Dixon, which is where you rented your first canoe, right? So he kind of had a little bit of a play in you and your wife falling in love, maybe.
Definitely. That's actually I think the first year we were up there is when I kind of informally proposed. It's like, oh, I could marry you for sure. This is great. But no, it's awesome. Definitely a big part of, we try to get out there as much as we can, every year and just go up there and enjoy it. It's such a beautiful place. It is getting more popular. I will say that Freeze Dam is, become kind of iconic in a lot of groups. And I mean, people recognize it. So it sees a lot more traffic every year. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more people getting out and exploring that type of thing, especially on, Lake Erie, and you've seen in Niagara. I went down to see the falls and forget about that, man. Wow. It's a lot different than when everything's frozen over,
Oh,
so not everyone turns a passion into a profession. How did your journey into YakAttack unfold?
I mean, it was by chance, really. It's kind of wild. I come from the automotive industry. It's what I did in high school. Went to, a trade school for auto body. Did that 15 years and did everything from, take out trash and wash cars up to manage a full production body shop. And that just got to be, I got burnt out. Just, it wasn't my thing anymore. And before I really made a decision on something else, I got scooped up by a friend who gave me an awesome opportunity with an electrical contracting company. And it was a desk job. It was a great opportunity, but it wasn't for me. And I found myself spending more and more time, wanting to get out on the water. And it was already the escape from reality, to get out there and just get away from everything, but more so in that other job. And when I realized that wasn't the thing for me, it's not what I was supposed to be doing. My wife actually I wouldn't say challenged me, but she said, I don't want to hear any more about you, going out on the river until you get paid to fish. I was like, all right, bet. But I started thinking about what I could possibly do. I like to cook, and I consider that possibility. But I took a chance, and I reached out to Luther Cyphers at YakAttack, and he was like, "Absolutely, let's talk." I expected to go into the company, in assembly, anything like that. I was ready. But he brought me in as our engineering and inventory and purchasing manager, which I did for a year and a half. So I got in there and, got my feet wet in the company and learned a whole lot of that other side of our manufacturing and, everything that goes into making YakAttack, and just continued to chase the passion and love what we do and learn as much about it as possible. And after a year and a half, he came to me and he was like, "I think I have a better spot for you." So after a year and a half, I moved into marketing, and now, 4 years later, I've got one of the coolest jobs in the world. I couldn't be more blessed to do what I do and talk to people about all the stuff that we do at YakAttack.
Absolutely, I agree. It's it's kind of like when we were in Niagara Falls, just kind of playing around and making anything possible, I guess, is what it comes down to it. And when I think of YakAttack, I mean, really, that's what I think about. And I started, the first rod holder was the Zuka 2 on the Ram Ball. That was my first exposure to YakAttack years back. And I mean, at this point, it's like, it's not work, right? It's something that you love to do and you love to play with and you love to support.
Yeah,
so,
I'm a tinkerer. I mean, that comes from the whole, the car, the auto body thing that I ended up in. I like to build things. I like to use my hands. I don't like sitting behind a computer. I like to be out there doing it and making it mine.
Exactly. So what's one behind the scenes YakAttack moment that people would never expect but totally shaped the brand?
Oh gosh. Honestly, I would have to say it's what really goes on behind the scenes. It's the whole team. We meet up annually for our design summit, where we kind of lay out what we want to do throughout the year, what we want to accomplish. And I mean, we have some awesome people at YakAttack, some very talented, very smart people, from our designers to our engineers. Just best group of people in the world. And, putting groups like that together in a space, in a cabin on the lake for the weekend, and just talking about, can we do this? What if we did this? How could we do this? I mean, those are the moments that really shape what we do, is the crew coming together and just trying to find ways to innovate and better YakAttack.
And it's not just people that have ideas. It's people that are out there on the water experiencing this industry. And, that's where the idea stems. It's just like how YakAttack got started with the Visi pole. That was, it was a necessity. Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yes. To me, anybody that doesn't know the story, Luther and a friend, they got into kayaking and started getting out there on bigger water, the Chesapeake Bay, out there for stripers. And, it was apparent right away that, there's big boats out there that are going to run you over, that aren't going to see you in low light conditions. So for safety, they made that first version of the Visi pole, which was basically a PVC tube with a safety light stuffed in the end of it. And that grew to, other buddies. It was like, hey, make me one. Hey, make me one. That's, I'll take that. And then our local retailer, Appomattox River Company, basically told him, you clean this up, we'll sell it for you. And that was the birth of where we are now. Just people wanting, that stuff. Got lost there for a second, but I mean, the innovation behind everything, it's, it's not just making cool stuff. It comes from experience. We listen to all the anglers out there, and we try to answer the needs of what people want, what people need, to make their experience better. And for me, at the end of the day, it's what we do most of all. I feel like it's small space organization, on top of the safety part, but you're in a limited confined space in a kayak. And so having everything at hand, but not in the way, and organized is what's key.
And also secure, some of us are carrying very expensive cameras and electronics and stuff. So if that's not secure, that could be a very, very bad day, especially if you don't have it tethered. So
that's right.
You've seen the rigging revolution firsthand. From back when we got into kayak fishing to now. I mean, there's been some massive changes. What are the biggest changes you've witnessed in the kayak fishing culture over the last decade?
I mean, a lot of it has been the advancement in the kayaks themselves. Just the platforms, the stability, the seats, the comfortable frame seating. That's really changed a lot of it, but they're becoming more riggable. One of the things that we used to do a lot of was gear track, for people to add gear track to their kayaks because they didn't used to come that way. And now they're loaded. So more riggable kayaks has definitely been a game changer in the industry. It's just so many of these platforms are so fun to add accessories to and build on.
Yeah. And, when you look at kayaks, there's a bunch of different people with a bunch of different opinions. But at the end of the day, the best description when it comes to a kayak was told to me by one of my Old Town Kayaks reps when I was selling Old Town Kayaks at Erie Marine Sales. And he said, Chuck, you got to look at it like a bag of golf clubs. You're not going to take a putter to go play 9 holes, right?
Right.
Same with kayaks. There's kayaks that you and I would both grab real quick with nothing other than a fishing pole and a life jacket and go smoke some fish, and then there's kayaks that if we're going 2-3 miles offshore to chase king salmon or walleye or something like that, that's a totally different need. And really that's what it comes down to is just, yeah, you can do it. I started with the pungo and I paddled out there. But I spent more time trying to get to the fish than I spent fishing, so it's one of those things, no matter what your need is, whether you want it simple or you want it, fully loaded. I mean, you just make it yours and go out and enjoy your life. Right.
Absolutely. And then again, that's the thing. The right kayak for anybody is the one that they're comfortable in. There's no right brand for anybody. There's no right gear set up. I mean, we all do different things. We enjoy doing things different ways. All the YakAttack stuff that we do. I mean, you don't have to go out and have that on your boat to have a good time and fish. I mean, you need a kayak, a rod, a paddle, and most importantly, a life jacket. Outside of that, it's up to you. That's why we say make it yours. Be creative and build a kayak that works for you. And it's not just putting a bunch of stuff all over a boat. There's a lot more to it. For me, it's systematic. One of the videos I've been wanting to do, just haven't had time to get on the water this year. But, for me, it's, go out there. I can literally flip my boat over in the water, then flip it back upright and nothing moves. Everything is still right there. I floated the river too many times with guys that catch an eddy, floating backwards, not paying attention to where they're at, and they're upside down, and the yard sail is coming down the river at you, and everybody's, moving around, scrambling, trying to catch their Plano boxes and their bottles of water and sunscreen, you name it.
Yep. Excuse me. That's a great test to do, especially it gives you that opportunity to do some re-entry. But also find the obstructions on your kayak. One of my clients, he was practicing re-entry the other day, and there was a couple of obstructions that he really didn't think about when he was trying that. So just putting yourself in that situation. And I wanted to touch on the other thing that you had talked about. It is close quarters, so whenever you set up your kayak, you want to think about it. What's the most efficient way possible? Where's the absolute best place for this? Like I used to put my net behind me. Well, every time I'd catch a fish, I'd always turn to the wrong side to grab the net, and it was on that side or wherever I put it last time. So that's one reason why I moved that thing in the center there. But just something to think about when you're setting up your kayak. Sit in there, get out there and think, well, if I put that there, am I going to snag every time I'm casting or trying to net or try to re-enter? It makes it fun. And then you can build just the ultimate machine. So let's get into Niagara a little bit. I know this was your second year at that event. It was my first time on the Lower Niagara and in that kind of current. And just to put it in perspective, it was, on average 150,000 cubic feet per second. So 1.5 million gallons of water moving past you every second. It's it's not a place for amateurs.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. But the rivers that I'm used to doing here, in Central Virginia, we're talking 2,500 cubic feet per second. So when you're up there in the hundreds of thousands, that's huge.
Right. And there's a lot of preparations that that we took into account, obviously wearing the dry suits and having throw bags and just understanding the actual intensity of that water, before just venturing out there. And going back to your fishery and your common way of fishing, as well as your ACA instructor certification for whitewater, it's one of those things where you don't want to go out by yourself. You want to go out with somebody that has some knowledge on how to read water, how to react to water and how to understand it. And there is a little bit of crossover, me being on big water, I understand how the water is going to move my kayak and how I need to maneuver it and this and that and the other. But there's a lot of things when it comes to that fast moving water that, can make it a bad day or even like you've seen. I struggled many times just holding position just to fish efficiently, and a lot of that just comes with just reading and understanding where that little sweet spot is and positioning yourself there.
Yeah. I think the eeriest thing for me, and that's no pun considering it runs out of Lake Erie, but for me this time, you're watching those big boats, blow up into the current and then continually drift back down and cast and just doing that repeatedly. I thought maybe I'd give that a shot. The first day we were on the river, we were really struggling to catch some fish. And so I kind of blew up in there and I'm drifting down and I'm getting my casts in and, kind of turned and my back ended up to the bank as I was casting and looked over at the depth finder there and where we were in, 16 to 20 feet of water and it went 30, 40, then 98 feet, just like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is wild. And then I look up and I start seeing these whirlpools forming around the kayak. I mean, like the length of the kayak, with, the diameter of some of these whirlpools. And so, I turned that motor on and got out of there as quickly as I could. But that was, I've learned the hard way, unfortunately, in a lot of situations, you don't mess with the power water. I earlier on, I want to say earlier on, but halfway into where I am now, thought I knew it, and thought I was pretty good at what I was out there doing, and I've got myself into some situations and gotten pretty banged up, just pushing the limits of my abilities and my kayak.
Yeah, that's where you learn, and really that's where the the personal drive, in my opinion, the personal drive to share that knowledge with others, right? Because you don't want them to make the same mistake you did. You just want them to,
Right.
you know, maybe learn from your mistakes. And
if I
you
can
know,
do
stay safe.
anything from, you know, the platform that I have, and, you know, this blessing of being able to talk for YakAttack, I mean, that would be it, is just maybe share some more of those stories. And, you know, it seems, you know, pretty easy what we do in kayak fishing, you know, from the outside looking in. You know, we're not out there running whitewater and, you know, class 3, class 4 rapids and that kind of stuff. You just get a boat and you go out there and fish. But, you know, we're floating around obstructions and into strainers because that's where the fish are. You know, and we're also overloading our boats with weight and everything that we bring with us, and a ton of entanglements that we bring out there. You know, I don't know, too many people consider, you know, capsizing a kayak, and when you're kicking to, you know, flip it over and get back in it, getting your leg hung in a treble hook on that rod that's dangling at your feet. You know, it's anything can happen. We take too much crap out there with us, you know, unlike all the other paddling disciplines.
I agree 100%. So how do you personally prepare mentally and physically for water like that?
I don't know, man. There's something about it. I mean, I get amped up. I mean, I've always got the bubble guts. You know, if you're not nervous doing, you know, any kind of rapids like I enjoy doing on the river, you know, you're crazy if you don't get a little nervous about it. But, you know, it's you don't want to jump too hard too fast. You know, you want to ease your way in and learn how to read water, learn how to read rapids and, you know, rocks and current. I mean, cross currents, you name it. I mean, you get spun around real quick and get pushed into a rock, and then you're gone. I mean, I've done that too. You know, coming through a set of rapids and looking for an exit through all the rocks, and choose too late, and then the boat will just high side, you know, up on a rock, and, you know, you're done. It's just,
I've done that too.
Building on experience. And granted, I do some things that a lot of people aren't doing in you know, our fishing platforms. I've posted a video or two, and people are like, you're going to end up on the news. You know, but you know, I really like pushing the limits of our fishing sit on top platforms and trying to see what I can get out of it. I mean, that's the rush for me. You know, done up to class 3 rapids in that Bonafide SS 107.
I remember that boat. You know, they used to always say that to me as well, being offshore on Lake Erie. But then they started realizing all the safety aspects and the attention to detail. And, you know, when you said that you get nervous, I mean, like you said, anybody that's in that type of situation, you should feel a little nervous, because that's what's going to make you check, hey, do I have my safety knife, my life jacket, my VHF, my personal locator beacon, throw rope? Like, what don't I know about this situation I'm trying to approach? You know, and that's where those hidden lessons are. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, we can sit in fear, wishing we had a chance to live, or we can just live life, you know, just do it the safest way possible.
You're right. But yeah, for me, when I spent my first real money on a kayak, it was I got that gray Bonafide SS 107, and at the time, Bonafide's motto was "Live the story you want to tell," and that has stuck with me so hard. I don't really think they use it anymore, but I love that, and that's what I'm going to live by. Is, you know, I'm gonna tell these stories one day about all the crazy things that I did and the near death experiences that I had and how it shaped me and bettered me, and, you know, like I said, the whole goal of this, I mean, if we can save somebody's life out there, you know, I've already seen enough headlines this year. For
this year's been so bad.
Incidents. You know, it's heartbreaking to see that stuff, especially when, you know, people aren't doing simple things like wearing that life jacket, wearing that PFD. I mean, that's the simplest thing
Right.
you can do to go out there and protect yourself. And I know I might not be here had I not been wearing mine on one of my experiences, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's it really puts everything into perspective, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does.
So for those who've never read a river before, can you walk us through exactly how you analyze the flow, seams, and structure before getting your boat into position and making the first cast?
Well, I guess that's kind of a two-part thing from reading rapids and just going with the flow of the river. Most of the time I'm paying attention to where I'm casting, and you're just, more of a flat flow situation. I'll bump into rocks that I'm not even paying attention to or anything like that, worrying about that next cast or trying to get under that root ball, trying to get that smallmouth out. But when it gets into, more technical stuff, I mean, you want to try to go, through the path of least resistance. I mean, you want to look through the main channel of the water, and that's where you're going to want to go. It's, I don't know, trying to find the way to put it in words. I mean, it just doing it for 12 years and being my love. I mean, it just, you look at it and okay, you got a rock over here and that pulls into another rock pile. The current's cutting this way, so I know I want to jump in here and pull a hard left out of this, so I'm not running over top of other rocks. Like I said, it's just one of those things. You kind of have to see it and learn as you go. But I mean, usually where you see that V of water, coming down through things, that's what you want to follow. Like that's where that main current is going. You got a rock on this side, where that hard V of that water's cutting down through there. That's the spot.
Right.
And it doesn't mean there's not going to be a rock at the end of it either. Head on a swivel at all times.
100%. That's probably the most important thing, because like sometimes you get so caught up in the cast, you don't realize how fast you're being drifted into something, right? Then you turn around and there's a strainer there, or there's a rock that's about to flip you. But I was just envisioning, you coming through those two rocks down that little bit of a rapid. And I just wanted to point out, of course, I'm sure you always have your helmet on in that type of situation when the water gets a little aggressive, just in case.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm doing anything bigger than class 2, then absolutely. But typical class 2, I mean, if you were to go down in it, and I mean, that's a tough one to say, technically, yeah, and something like that, just from the ACA training, you're supposed to have that helmet on at all times. I mean, as an angler, I don't want to say it's different, we're exempt from those rules, but I got to be honest, I don't wear a helmet kayak fishing most of the time. The only time that I really do is when I get with Kayak Kevin Whitley, which has been a while. Didn't catch up with him last year, but we'll do downtown Richmond, Virginia, which is a very popular, whitewater area. Some big water 3s and, very technical class 3s with the right water. I mean, it goes up from there as water levels grow. It's been pretty gnarly down there the past couple of weeks. But yeah, something like that. I mean, if we're floating down and fishing, and having a good time navigating the rock gardens and things through there, I've got the helmet with me. But when we get to some sketchy water like that, the helmet goes on immediately.
Right. And I wanted to mention first, anybody that's looking to get into something like this, go over to the ACA's website, American Canoe Association, and they have all kinds of classes. So you could take a level 1 class or a level 2 if you already have a level 1. Wade is an instructor, so you could even take a class from Wade if you're local. But that would be a great way to understand how to read water, but also how to self-rescue and how to control your boat in that type of situation. But the helmet thing, one of the reasons that I brought it up is I have, I'll tell you, there's a huge increase in retirees getting into kayak fishing. And of course, some of it's because the platforms are so nice. They're so comfortable. They're so inviting that they can allow somebody or anybody to get out there and enjoy it. And one of my clients, he was describing what he was planning on doing. And basically he's a river guy, so he's going to be dragging a lot. There'll be some spots where he'll be able to fish from his kayak. But he brought that up. He mentioned always wearing a helmet. And, it hit me right there. This is a 78-year-old man that, he's healthy. He's in great shape, but he also understands that he's, a little bit older and maybe lose your footing pretty easily. And that could be a bad day, so it's one of those things where you just have to, in my opinion, like make that decision for yourself personally, and adjust accordingly. Right.
Yeah, no. So like I was saying, the first time that I ran down through that set of rapids, that double shoals, just exploring the new river and trying to go further than I've been before. And like I said, it scared the crap out of me. I mean, water was low, so it was more technical than it normally is. I went out and bought a helmet after that. I've had one ever since. It's with me sometimes. I made my kid wear it as I started, kind of grooming him and getting him to follow me down through there. Made sure he had it on and all that. But I don't want to say I'm too skilled for it because anything can happen. You never know. But
it's just I guess it's just one of those things where the individual is you, you're willing to take that risk. And I mean, it's your life. So, that's your choice. Right. And
I hate to say it.
I mean, I totally get it because I don't have that kind of experience in that water, but if I did, I can't say that I would be wearing a helmet, but maybe because it would be kind of like a dry suit in my neck of the woods. There's 6 months out of the year where it is non-negotiable. And honestly, I might be a little biased because I just watched a couple of Dane Jackson's videos, and if you know who Dane Jackson is, one of the best whitewater.
I would love to tag along with Dane on some of these trips. I mean, my skill level's not up there, but dropping waterfalls is so awesome. Like I said, I feel called to do some of that crazy stuff, and man, I would love to tag along on a trip with that guy one day.
Yeah,
I've got to get my whitewater skills up. I haven't spent a lot of time in skirted kayaks,
right?
Which is why I'm a level 2. When Jeff and I did the river certification thing, I was 2 days in a skirted kayak out there, trying to test for this thing, and I wasn't able to pull off a roll, so I couldn't get to level 3. Jeff did it fantastic. I mean, he had some prior experience, but yeah, Jeff pulled it off. So he's actually the only level 3 river instructor we have in the country, in the world, under this curriculum.
An interesting fact, years back, Jeff was the first ACA instructor that was actually an angler, right? Is that right? Years back, he was he was in a whitewater boat because that's pretty much all that was available back then. I can't remember what the name of the boat was, but that's how Jeff started. So it's not surprising that he was able to make that.
Well, Jeff's the man.
I've rolled the Pungo, just messing around. It was a personal test. I wanted to see if it was possible. I was shown that it was possible in that boat, so I wanted to see if I could do it, and I pulled it off. And then I was at the Cleveland Boat Show a couple of years ago, and we always have whitewater boats, and then we have sea kayaks. So I hopped in one of the sea kayaks, which is supposed to be easier to roll, and I couldn't pull it off. And of course a year had went by, so I'm sure my technique wasn't correct. Plus, everybody's watching, so that puts the pressure on you as well. But
always.
rolling's one of those things. I don't know, man. I've never experienced anything like hanging upside down on a kayak in slow motion, going through your process, thinking, okay, is it the time? Oh, nope, I got to get balanced a little bit. Okay, now, and just being able to maintain your calmness while you're upside down. It was pretty extreme.
That's the
It's something
biggest.
that go ahead.
Controlling your own nerves in that situation, just being underwater like that, upside down. That's the biggest part of it for sure.
Oh yeah. So what drove you to become a level 2 ACA kayak fishing instructor?
Well, I mean, Jeff reached out to me. I guess it was October of 23. Yeah, something like that. And asked if I wanted to be a part of it. And I was like, sure, I wouldn't mind getting some instructor certification under my belt and things like that. He was like, well, no, this is different, and I didn't really grasp the scale of what we were doing. To anyone that doesn't know, the ACA is the governing body over basically all the curriculum, we do in the paddle sports disciplines. And for years, they've been trying to put through a kayak fishing curriculum and getting shot down. And with Andrea White and a bunch of other awesome people, Jeff Luckett and those folks, they got it through. And, I think, you went through before me, but we were some of the first to do this. I had no idea when we were sitting down, they've been telling me that I passed and all that I was the only person in the state of Virginia that had the certification with the kayak angling endorsement on it. Had no idea. And I mean, from there, it's just, you're kind of burdened with this level of responsibility, and you want to share it and help anyone that we can, in this sport. So, I mean, naturally the certification was only for flat water, so for me naturally doing what I love doing, I had to upgrade that to river. I know you went, in the, the open water
Offshore
category with that. For me, yeah, the offshore. For me, naturally, it was in the river, and trying to get that up as high as I could was paramount to just want to take people through. I mean, I've guided plenty of people through some of my favorite sections of river and through rapids like that, not professionally, but to be able to do that for anybody that has an interest. I mean, I've seen other people, when I've been at the bottom of those rapids, come through holding on to their kayak. They've lost their seat. They've lost their cooler, hear other people in conversations on other rivers. It's like, oh, we lost the cooler. Oh, the keys were in the cooler. Just, so many people get out there and get ahead of themselves in situations like that. And the ability to, share some experience and help people find the right way to do it, I guess, that's what I would love to do, when I'm too old for YakAttack or something like that, and want to, take it easy on my days. I mean, to be a river guide and really show people not just how to go out there and fish, but how to control their boat and how to self rescue and do it safely.
Absolutely. That's it's even more than like what you do now or even what I do. When you have those opportunities to teach somebody at that level, it just it opens up a whole new world for them that doesn't stop at that day, so it's, as a human, I mean, that's something that we should all strive to do, right? To unlock new worlds for others, in a positive and a safe way. But the other thing I was going to mention is, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I mean, so many of us, we don't realize how much stuff we're doing wrong until we're shown the right way to do it. I mean, 10 years in, just some of the paddling technique that I learned through the class for boat control, just, the sculling strokes and things like that I use all the time now. Some of it I did didn't do it right, but you don't know what you don't know. And that's the biggest part of getting proper instruction.
100%. And the best part about all that is for many years, purists behind the ACA, they would not accept sit on top kayaks and fishing kayaks, into that. They didn't believe it was kayaking, kind of like, some people online maybe. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to save a life, right? And water sports,
Absolutely.
whether it's a surfboard, a kayak, a paddleboard, a jet ski, it all has a need. So, like you, I'm incredibly grateful for Andrea White and Jeff Luckett and Jeff Little for inviting me, because I had just came back from my cast and I had to go back to Georgia like 3 or 4 weeks later. So it was a fun year.
It was a hike for you.
Anybody.
It was 9 hours for me to go down there.
I think it was 18, and I drove all the way through. On the way down, I planned on driving all the way through on the way back, but I stopped and hooked up with Brett Cummings, decked out John boat, and we went out fishing for the day. Mm-hmm. And then I drove through the night until I couldn't drive anymore. Took a nap I planned on taking a short nap at a Walmart, and I woke up 6 hours later. So, it's again, on the water, off the water. I don't take those risks like when I was young and just drive right through when you're tired, right?
Right.
But the point is, anybody that's listening, go over to the ACA's website. It's American Canoe Association, or you can just Google ACA. And there's all kinds of different classes, all kinds of different opportunities to gain some skills, to meet some people, in the industry and in your, throughout your passion, and, just see where it goes. And if you want to, you can always take it a step further and become an ACA certified instructor, and teach people that way.
Absolutely.
So let's sorry, go ahead. I think there's a delay.
The
delay's
messing
me up.
I forgot what I was going to say now. But no, just after getting into this and really paying attention to it and looking at statistics, just with boating related fatalities, I haven't seen the numbers yet. How 2024 panned out. I need to reach out and get those, but I know after I'd done this and looked at 2023, boating fatalities went down as a whole, but kayaking and inflatables went up. So it's just anything can happen out there, and you've hit on re-entry and self-rescue so many times. We don't practice that enough. I don't practice that enough. I mean, I know I've done it plenty of times, and I'm pretty sure I can do it in a lot of situations. I've had to do it in swift water. But I mean, it's one of those things that we take for granted. You can't practice that enough.
Yeah. I don't even want to see the 2025 numbers. I feel like this is the worst season I've ever seen. It feels like every day somebody loses their life out there, and a lot of times it's unnecessary. The thing that I always take into consideration is, like, if I make a mistake and I'm dead, I suffer until I'm dead, right? But my family has to suffer for the rest of their lives, which, that could be a long time. Your kids, your loved ones. And that's why I'm so adamant of my dry suit and my PFD, but
even the PFD was a hard lesson for me to learn at first. I mean, it was cumbersome. I didn't feel cool wearing it, so on and so on. But, once I finally made myself do it, I don't know how to kayak without it now, especially, I mean, I've got my braid scissors. I got all my stuff in my pockets, it's like putting on socks and shoes. Like, I don't know how to go out there without wearing it now. You know, and you get used to it, and then you wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right. Absolutely.
And kayak fishing, I mean, we are the fastest growing, you know, sector in the paddle sports industry. I mean, among all disciplines, you know, and that's why the numbers are going up, is, you know, it's just
so many more people getting in.
It's not pushed hard enough. You know, I know I float with people that refuse to wear it from time to time. Oh, it's too hot. You know, I've definitely been on the water with people that won't wear it unless they feel it's necessary. Yeah. You know, and it's, you know,
you know, that's one of the things that
you need to be a bigger jerk sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of the stance that I take in that situation. I mean, I'm not a jerk about it, but at the end of the day, like, if you're not going to practice that safety, like, you're welcome to go out, but I'm fucking leaving. Oh, sorry. Apologize for that slip. But I'm leaving. I'm not going to go out with somebody that's being safe or being unsafe on the water like that. Even if, you know, it's cold, 58 degrees or 50 degrees, and they don't want to wear a dry suit. Well, I guess we're not going out, you know, and that's just my personal opinion. It's just because I'm kind of stuck to my ways, and it's not that, you know, you have to, but like, I'm not going to be involved in that. I'm not going to be the one that calls your family and says I couldn't save you, you know.
Right.
But anyways, like, enough with the doom and gloom. Let's
I was going to say, we need to
fish.
Bring it up a little bit. What's that?
Right. Yeah. Let's get into your fishing adventure tomorrow. Where are you heading?
Okay. So, to a local tributary to the James River. James River runs, you know, right through the middle of Virginia, kind of the river that founded Virginia, but a little tributary to that called the Ty River. It's a pretty skinny river. I don't get a lot of opportunities to run it throughout the year. The water has to be right. Otherwise, it's almost too bony to really get out there and do it. I mean, too many rocks exposed, you know, to get out there and really enjoy it. So we've had rain over the past weeks. You know, a lot of the rivers were blown out beginning of this week. They've come down. I had a little more rain last night, but river level is holding good. So definitely want to take the opportunity to get on that one. It's an awesome river. It's got some great Class 2 rapids in it. And it's always a blast. I mean, it's, you know, it's not as wide as my living room across the house right here. You know, it's nice. It's beautiful. Definitely one of my favorite places to get out there and float, and to have the opportunity here. I'm not going to pass it up. I mean, like I said, it's, you know, once you get into June, July, it's usually done for the season, just because it's so shallow through there. So that's where we're going to head out tomorrow. I'm kind of going through gear. Been on the road for feels like forever here, but the better part of the last 3 weeks, been on the road. Been scrounging around all evening, getting ready for this. You know, we'll get ready for that before the podcast. Just trying to find all my stuff and get it all back in one place, and, you know, get stuff on the right kayak. I'm going to take one of my bona fides out. First time this, you know, they'll have gotten wet this year. So to get out and do that and kind of travel light, you know, like the minimalist approach. I mean, most of the time it's, you know, as much YakAttack stuff as I can put on the boat, but, you know, kind of building things out just for what I need. I've got my paddle holder, my cup holder, you know, black pack and net, and that's about it.
Right. Yeah, I know you're not really a fan of electronics, and you don't really need them on the river, you know, especially if you understand it.
Yeah, your transducer wouldn't last long in a river like this.
Right.
Again, this is one of the ones where, you know, a lot of what you're floating, you're talking a foot to a foot and a half deep. You know, you can see clear through to the bottom. I don't know what water clarity looks like right now. I haven't checked after you know, the rain and stuff blew through last night. We actually had a pop-up shower right before we got started here on the podcast tonight. So I don't know what that looks like yet. We usually see it on the way in, and you see that nice kind of green, not crystal clear, but hopefully it's got a little green, a little haze to it, and that'll be perfect. So they don't spook too easy. But again, most of that river, it's shallow. What I'm looking for is, coming down the shore, down the bank line, hoping, the sun's going to be out, no cloud cover, so I can get some top water action going. If they're hitting top water, I'm going to have the best day of my life. But get out there and really beat the banks with it, and look for those pockets, underneath the trees and those root balls, and around any wood like that, behind the rocks. We were talking about that water flow, and you get a big rock here, and that water's going to flow out around it, and you've got a nice still pool right there on the other side of that rock. The tops of the rapids, if you have a big ledge there, and you got that nice calm water right above that roll, they're sitting up there ambushing prey, ambushing bait, above and below. So just any opportunity to get a cast in, that's the plan, and just have a good time. Get out there and enjoy the river, and just being away from everything. Like, especially after week on the road. I mean, I've been to Maine and upstate New York, and just all over the place. I haven't fished on my terms in 7 weeks, because every single weekend has been something going on. That's tough.
It's
That's
funny.
tough. I mean, we have to have a good time in Niagara and fish, but again, I'm out of my element trying to learn, water like that. It's a completely different river experience than what I'm going to go do tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, the more involved you are with the fishing industry, when it's your life, the less that you actually get to fish on your own terms, right? It's like the Niagara trip. I mean, it was awesome, but there was so many different things that had to be completed and done. At the end of the day, like those trips, it's work. It's not a bad thing, but it is. It's work. So I'm real happy that you get to get out there and not even worry about anything, and just go, recharge those batteries.
Well, of course, the camera's going to come out. I can't go out and not make a video on something,
Right.
I'd say the worst thing doing social media for YakAttack is having to get in the conference room and get behind that podium and talk. I would much rather, and I'm sure everybody would prefer to see, that on the water content, and just talking about the gear in use and how it's being used, and different ways to do things and different ways to rig. I don't think, I hardly ever go out with my boat the same way. Something's always different. A lot of things stay the same that I found that I like over the years. But again, with Niagara, completely different setup than what I would go out and do on a river like this.
Right. So what is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap it up? How about this? I think I seen an email. I didn't open it up yet.
A lot of questions tonight. What else is there?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a special or something like that. Is there like a Father's Day special or something like that coming up pretty soon for YakAttack?
No, there actually isn't a Father's Day special. Now we do. I will drop one little leak there. There's something that we're working on that's coming pretty soon that should be ready just in time for Father's Day. I can't tell you what that is right now, but as you're aware, we've always got things in the works. I think one of the hardest things is teasing stuff too soon, just with the amount of work that goes into bringing some of these products to life. To get a prototype out is nothing, but the tooling and everything that we do in house, we make our own molds. We have 5 big injection molding machines, so we make all of our own parts right there. Very, very little that we don't do under that one roof in Virginia. So some things take a little bit longer than others. The surf carts took up a lot of our bandwidth. It's one of the biggest things that we've ever done with those surf carts. But, we've kind of jumped back in gear here to start knocking out some of those other projects. I know a lot of people want to see, the crossbar and a lot of other items that we showed at ICAST last year. So we're hard at work on a lot of those things. So definitely some cool things coming down the pipeline here pretty soon, and hoping to blow you guys away again this year at ICAST.
That's awesome.
Which is only
I'm looking forward to
7 weeks away.
Oh my God. Is it? Wow.
Or at the end of this week, is it 6 now? I don't know, but it's coming fast.
It's going too fast.
It's coming fast, but, yeah, definitely a lot of new things coming. Had a lot of fun in that kind of downtime playing with some of the soft goods. You got a lot of pushback that that we didn't manufacture them, there in our facility. But I mean, I guarantee you, anything that we can do, we have the ability to do. We're going to do it right there in Virginia. But dry bags and some of those other things. I mean, it was fun to play in a different space and bring some innovation that we knew we could. Just to some different products, the dry bags with the air valves, and there's a lot of cool features in those things. I love those. I've got my backwater dry pack right here beside me. It's what I keep my computer and everything else in. And
yeah, I love that thing.
To good use. So I mean that was an awesome thing here. But a lot of the core products you guys are going to be seeing here. A lot of things coming here in the next few months.
Nice. That sounds exciting. So what do you hope listeners take away from this episode?
Oh gosh, I guess what we spent the most time on is just safety. What we do, we go out there to have fun and have a good time, hopefully catch some fish. But we want to come home, so being mindful of everything that you're doing while you're out there. I mean, again, we're not just, overloading our boats with a bunch of stuff. I mean, we want to rig smart and practical. But at the end of the day, safely, get out there and not just fish, but again, practice technique, practice paddle strokes. I know for me, just paddle strokes boat positioning is one of the biggest things in making a cast and catching a fish. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you cast and in 2 seconds you're backwards and you're reeling from behind you. So, I mean, learning how to paddle in different situations and boat control is huge, but practicing the safety elements of what we encounter out there in our little plastic boats is paramount.
I agree 100%. All right. Before we let you off the hook, we're going to reel you back for one last piece of angler's wisdom. But don't worry, Wade, it's catch and release only. If you had to choose just one or two pieces of angler's wisdom, whether it's something you learned through experience or a valuable lesson passed down to you from a mentor, what would they be? And why do you think they're so important for other anglers to hear?
Gosh, man, you could have forewarned me with this one and give me time to think about it. Having fun. I mean, that's why we're doing this, right? I don't want to knock tournament fishing, but there's a reason that I don't do it. I don't like tying all that money and everything else up into it. I go out to escape my problems, and that's what it was for me growing up. When my dad took me fishing as a kid, as we pursued it as kids, I mean, just up the road from where I'm at right now, we used to ride our bicycles out here to the local pond with a tackle box in one hand, rods in the other hand, and, pedal on down to the pond, and we'd have a good time. We'd fish a while. We'd go out there and swim in the lake and throw mud at each other and all that. So the most important thing to do is get out there and have a good time.
100%. Tomorrow's never promised.
That's what I loved about fishing growing up. That's what brought me back into fishing as I got older, and they'll always be the best part of it. is going out there and having a good time.
I agree. So how do people find you? Where can they follow you?
Me personally, YakAttack. I don't do much on my own
You,
personal profile.
YakAttack.
I don't think I haven't posted on my personal Instagram or anything like that since the fall. I don't think. Maybe something in a story, but most of what I do, if I've got a camera out and I'm collecting some content, it usually goes to YakAttack. So
Right.
that's the most of what I do. I mean, if tomorrow's a banger day, hey, yeah, I might get some 20s on the board. You might see that, but yeah, I'd say it's YakAttack, or you can always follow the Silver Fox Fishing, not but Silver Fox Fishing on Instagram, something like that, if you want to see me post once a month. But yeah, outside of that, yeah, YakAttack gets the best of what I've got. So
yeah, and you can find YakAttack on Facebook, Instagram. I believe they're on TikTok possibly too. There's a YouTube channel. You can head over to the website, yakattack.us. I think that's right.
That's right. Yep. .us.
And check out all that stuff. They're local, Farmville, Virginia. It's basically a giant building that's producing awesome parts full of incredible people. So definitely get over there, show them some love. All right. Well, that's I think that's all I have for you. Without getting too deep, I don't want to burn up your spot or take any of those secrets away. But we'll have to come on here and do this again.
Sure thing, man. I've had a blast being on here. I appreciate you having me. Always a pleasure to sit down and chat with you.
Oh yeah, I just remembered one thing that we didn't talk about is actually your trip to up north coming up here pretty soon, right?
Okay, so yeah, I guess real quick, next trip we've got coming up, it's all put together by Kayak Angler Magazine. Keith over there has done an awesome job networking and bringing together this epic trip. So it's going to be a lot of different people you guys watch and love. I mean, it's an awesome group of people. But we're going to be just off the northwest coast of Vancouver Island in Canada. Little small island chain in there. It's still inhabited by the original folks out there, the Inuit tribes that have been there for centuries or millennia, I would say. I don't know, but just this little piece, this little slice of heaven in the middle of nowhere. Out looking for big salmon, Chinook, king salmon, Chinook, halibut, link cod. So all kind of fish. I mean, basically anything I go out there and catch is going to be a new one for me. Never done any kind of fishing like that, but we'll have Paul and Jeff from Aggressively Average Anglers are going to be out there with us. Vibe Kayaks is the boat sponsor. Bixby is on board for the motors. YakAttack's doing the gear. Chad and Austin Hoover, old school. Most of you guys know Marty Hughes, been in the game for a long time. Going to be with us out there. Last night, they added a few more. Chad from Hookup Baits. Trevor Powell. He's got a page on Instagram. I think Fish Forage Off-Road. I think I got those in the right order. I apologize if I'm leaving anybody out, but just an awesome group of people out there. They're going to go out and do this, and it should be a really epic trip, and be able to bring you guys some really cool content that I'm not used to seeing, or hopefully neither of you. So be something new for sure.
That sounds pretty awesome. Definitely follow YakAttack on social media, as well as Kayak Angler Magazine for some updates on that trip. And Wade, just hang out after the show, just so that the your recording uploads. And
10-4.
Yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And introduce a new angler to your passion. That's what I got for you today. We will see you next Thursday on the Angler's Wisdom Podcast. Thank you for joining us today on the Angler's Wisdom Podcast. We hope you got some good insight out of the show and learned something new. Don't forget to go over to ampedoutdoors.com and support the title sponsor of the show. Follow them on social media and just show them some love. And lastly, head over to LakeErieKayakFishing.com and check out all the many resources as well as opportunities to book an unforgettable Lake Erie kayak fishing adventure with yours truly. You can also get yourself a Lake Erie kayak fishing gift card, the obsessed angler in your life. And remember, fishing is life, but safety comes first. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next Thursday live on the Angler's Wisdom Podcast.
Oh, yeah! Yeah!
Oh! Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah!